there, welcome to the HerBusiness Podcast, where we dive deep into the stories of women entrepreneurs who are making their mark. Today, I have a special guest interview for you. Now, the topic is one that so many women in service businesses can relate to. My guest started off exchanging her time for money. Now, she was charging good money for that time, but nonetheless, there were only so many hours that she could work. So she started to build a small team, and then soon they too were exchanging their time for money. She peered a few years into the future, and she didn't like where things were heading if she continued on this business model. She looked at others in her industry and what their businesses look like long term, and she decided this was not for her. She wanted to help more people. She wanted to earn more money. She wanted to leverage her time. She wanted the freedom to work from anywhere and to travel with her family. So she set herself a 12-month goal inside of her business. She wanted 30% of her income the following year to come from non-traditional one-to-one client-facing work. It was a pretty bold move, but today, a couple of years later, over 50% of her income is leveraged income, and she's continuing on this trend. Now, she still has one-to-one clients who pay her well for her services, and they love her and have even flown her in private jets to meet with them. She's become a popular face in the media. Her business model is very unlike her peers. She's really a trailblazer, and she loves it. Today, I'm thrilled to have Amanda Farmer with us. She's the visionary behind Your Strata Property, and she helps strata property owners and managers to demystify the legal complexities of apartment living. And she does this through her membership, her in-person events, and her Your Strata Property podcast. She's also regularly invited by local councils around New South Wales to speak to their strata owners. Amanda has really redefined what it means to be a property lawyer, transforming her traditional law practice into a thriving online community that demystifies apartment living. Now, in this interview, you're going to discover how Amanda transitioned from this one-to-one, face-to-face type of business to this really innovative online platform. She's really reshaped her business model for scalability and to create more of an impact. You'll also hear about the pivotal moment that spurred Amanda to seek a more fulfilling and engaging business path beyond the billable hours. Let's go to the interview. Hey Amanda, great to see you.
Great to see you, Susie.
I know that you are just on the back of an international trip, your own event, which we'll talk about later. Help me introduce you to the people at home.
For sure. Well, my name is Amanda Farmer. I am a property lawyer, and I help people to demystify the legal complexities of apartment living. And I do that inside an online membership community, which is called Your Strata Property.
Thank you so much. Now, you are a lawyer, as you mentioned, and when I met you, you had a traditional kind of law firm that you were growing. You had a team of staff, but you have transitioned from this one-to-one legal services to a more scalable model that includes things that you've just mentioned, your Strata Property membership. You've run an online summit, the first in the world of its kind. You've done live events. You speak for different councils and different stages. How did you get inspired to say, you know what, I'm a lawyer, I've been trained as a lawyer, this is what lawyers do, but I'm going to take a totally different path? What inspired you to create a totally different model for your business?
I think like a lot of us who make the decision to change, it comes from a place of feeling a little bit of pain. And I had been in traditional legal practice for a few years that had been very exciting for a time. And my business was where I felt it needed to be. I had a good team. I had good clients. And I looked around me at other lawyers who'd been doing this job for 30, 40 years. And I thought, is that it? Is this now my life as a lawyer for the foreseeable future? Is this kind of all there is? And my personality is such that I don't settle, and I am curious and I love learning, and I started to look at different ways. Absolutely love practicing law, love running a business, but I had this inkling, this feeling, I didn't know for sure, that there's got to be a different way out there. There's got to be a better way. How can I continue to do this in a way that's new, that's different, that's challenging, and keeps me interested? Because I couldn't see myself getting to possibly 70 plus years old, which a lot of the lawyers in my space get to, and still practicing, still doing billable hour in the same way. I thought, no, I'm going to die of boredom if that's what's on the horizon.
Can't have that. And so you've gone from one-to-one to, in many cases, one-to-many, and you've taken what were very personalized legal services, and now you have this broad educational platform, for lack of a better word, where you are able to reach far more people in many different ways. What are some of the strategic decisions you've made along the way as you've introduced different elements to your business? Like, you started with a podcast, but now you have all these other different revenue streams. What was some of the strategic thinking behind introducing new leveraged opportunities in your business?
Yeah, well, you've said the word there, Susie, leverage, and that's really constantly at the forefront of what I'm thinking from a strategic perspective. How can I leverage my skill, my expertise, what I'm doing once? How can I build that once and then sell it, then offer it many times over? And that to me is at the heart of what leverage is. So absolutely, number one, I wanted to build a leveraged business model, something that took me away from the face-to-face billable hour with clients where I had to be present. I had to be working in order to be bringing revenue into the business. I wanted to keep a pretty lean team. I'm a bit of an introvert. I really love working alone. I love working in my own space. I knew that I needed software and systems that would support that. So that's always been on the strategy agenda, to make sure that we're using the best systems and the best tech that we can. We are getting to a stage where I do have a small team, and that team does need to grow to be able to get us to that next level. But we're building a really strong foundation in terms of our systems and our processes to make that as smooth as possible. I have always known that I both needed and wanted to keep my brick and mortar legal practice going as I built my online education business. And that was something that business mentors of mine had shared with me, that was a good idea. It was something that I wanted to keep doing. And I knew that if I ditched the brick and mortar and the revenue that was coming from that and put all of my focus into this new exciting online thing, that would put a lot of pressure on the new baby, let's call it. And it could make or break that side of the business. So I run my legal practice quite separately to my online education business, and I keep both of them going, and they have over 10 years really come to be very complementary. So that was a really important strategic decision I feel I made early on that's put me in really good stead.
Now, you mentioned you're an introvert, which I know because I happen to know you, yet it's not uncommon for me to see you on the front page of a newspaper, or being quoted in a story in a magazine, or being on television. So how do you reconcile being very public but also being an introvert?
It's all part of the leverage strategy. So I come back to, I don't want to be sitting down face-to-face every day with new people, doing coffee meetings, doing lunch meetings. I don't necessarily want to do lots and lots of small group education, which is absolutely what I was doing early on in my business when I was trying to get my name out there, when I was trying to build my legal practice. Sometimes when you're just starting out, that is what you have to do. But I knew I wanted to get my business to a stage, and I'm there now, where I didn't have to say yes to everything. I didn't have to take every coffee meeting, but I still wanted to be a leader, to be recognized as a leader in my field. And I understood that tapping into the power of media and PR was a really great way to do that, a really leveraged way to do that, where you could do the one interview on the Today Show, you could have the one expert piece on a current affair or in the Sydney Morning Herald, and that would go out to hundreds of thousands of people. I see that media and that PR strategy as an example of that leveraged approach to my business.
And how have you approached that media? Do you use an agency? Do you put out media releases? Do you look for opportunities? How is it that you are getting these fantastic gigs with the media?
So I don't use an agency. I have tried an agency in the past, and I think, you sort of dabble in a few things and see what works for you. I have found that the best cut through that I've got is to be building personal relationships with the journalists who are telling the stories about your customers. So finding out who those journalists are, and all you have to do is consume the media that you want to be in. So you want to be in the Sydney Morning Herald, who is writing about property in the Sydney Morning Herald? And you can contact these people on LinkedIn. Sometimes you can get an email address. And understanding that journalists are desperate. They're hungry for our stories. They want to hear from you. They've got deadlines. They need to file pieces. They want all of this content. And we're holding these stories here with our clients. We have the case studies. We have the real life experiences that they want to share with their readers and with their viewers. So learning how to pitch these journalists in a way that makes it easy for them. And that's usually by handing them that story, saying, hey, I've got a client who's experiencing this awful cigarette smoke drift in their apartment building. She's really happy to speak to you about it. I think this is a really important story. Here's some dot point outlines. And this is what I think, as a strata law expert, is the issue. And that's how I'll get quoted in the Sydney Morning Herald. That journalist will have a great case study to share, and they'll have a story to file at the end of the week.
So I just want to recap what you said. So you are actually taking opportunities to the media. So you're getting to know who the right contacts are. And then you're not waiting that maybe they'll call you. You're actually being opportunistic and giving them ideas. Is that what I heard?
That is absolutely what's happening. Yeah. And over time, you build those relationships. From time to time, I'll have a producer, a current affair is a common one, that will ring me and say, Amanda, we've got a strata story and we just need an expert voice. So they've come to know me after doing a few stories with them. They will start to reach out to you. But I'm keeping on top of it. If I've got a client who I think has a really great story, an important story to share, not just for my exposure or for their day in the sun in the media, but really great for our industry to be able to get the word out there, then I'm going to pitch that to a journalist. And this is where I think having that more leveraged model, having my online education business that can run in the background without my attention all of the time, it really frees me up to do that kind of PR, because that does take time. And I think that's why you see a lot of professionals don't do it. It takes time to put the story together, to get the pitch right. Maybe I have to spend a day at the TV studio, I have to travel, but I'm willing to do that because I know how important that is to my business. And I can do that because of the way I've structured my business with both the leverage side and the billable hour.
I love it. As we mentioned earlier, you have a number of different revenue streams into your business. How do you, including having a membership, doing live events, speaking for councils, did I say membership? I think I just said membership. I did. And you may have other revenue streams as well. How do you prioritize the different revenue streams as far as how much of your attention they get? Is it about growth? Is it about profitability? How do you think about where you put your attention? Oh, plus there's the practice, right?
Absolutely. The legal practice. Yeah. Really good question. And I am sure that many of our viewers are struggling with this, because I've struggled with it for so many years and I still struggle with it, but I've now got strategies and frameworks around how I deal with it. So anyone who's setting up what you might call a side hustle at the time, or it is an online version of your otherwise brick and mortar, this is a question that's going to come up. How much time do I spend on this side and how much on the other side? For me, it's come down to having a really good handle on my numbers. And that is something that I have had to get really good at really within the last 12 months as we move towards a 7-figure revenue goal. Having a really good handle on my numbers to understand what the revenue is in each side of the business. So each of my businesses is quite separate, what the expenses are in each, and to be monitoring that at least monthly. And I know people who are monitoring that on a weekly basis. As women, we can sometimes be a little bit scared of the numbers, forget about the numbers, put them under the bed a little bit, but you absolutely have to, especially when you're juggling different revenue streams, to be able to make that assessment of how much time am I spending in each and what is most profitable. So for me, something is profitable if it has little or no overhead. It doesn't require a lot of my one-on-one time. It's repeatable, it's replicable. To me, that's going to be profitable. if I'm going to be traveling. My family and I really like to travel a lot. We'll go overseas for a month, 6 weeks at a time. We've just come back from the US after 2 weeks. If I see that coming up in my calendar, I know I'm going to be out of the legal practice. So I might not have the billable hours there. So what I'll do in my planning is actually plan an online campaign to have a membership sale, or to make sure I've got revenue from an event that's coming in at that time. So being really good about planning your year ahead, so that you know when you're not physically there to do the revenue raising activities, you've got the more leveraged activities happening in the background. Not something that I was doing when I first started out. It's definitely something that I've learned and something that I'm getting better at.
I love it. And you said so much there. So you have a strategic plan. You're looking not just what's happening right now in your business, but you're looking far enough ahead to know, well, this is where my peak periods are going to be. This is where income's coming in. This is where I'm not going to be getting billable hours. Therefore, I need to have some other sort of marketing activity to keep ticking over because I have this 7-figure goal. And I'm looking at my numbers monthly so that I know what's profitable. One of the mistakes, Amanda, that we find that a lot of women make, especially as they're growing their businesses, is they only have a revenue goal. So what I love about what you're saying is that you are regularly checking in on not just the revenue, but what is the profit in your business. Can you tell me, how has building that practice empowered you as a business owner?
Do you know what it's done, Susie? It's made me realize how achievable my vision is and how achievable my big goals are. I've actually, looking at the numbers, I've developed a 5-year forecast of what I want my revenue to be, what I think the expenses on that revenue would be, and then what my profit is. I've mapped that out over 5 years. And then I've worked backwards to establish, okay, well, what kind of marketing activity do I need to be doing? What new products do I need to be offering? How do I hit those goals? And it's made them really tangible, really realistic. And I know that then each month I'm doing things that move me further towards that goal. It's not sort of a nice to have, or I wish I could, or I can't have that, or that's really hard. I think when you write it out in that way, in numbers, which are really black and white, it makes it real, and it helps you really believe that you can have what your heart desires.
I love that. And you started with a big vision, like you know where you want to go. So you're aligning all your activity with that big vision, which is so the underpinning of everything we do here at Her Business, is starting with the end in mind, and then planning, strategizing, looking at your numbers, looking at your marketing, all the things that I know that you're doing that is moving you forward in your business. I wanted to ask you about how your skills and mindset have changed from when you were perhaps just in your law firm, or you just started with a new revenue stream, to where you see yourself going. What's had to change about your skills and your mindset?
Mindset has been a really big one for me this last year. We've seen a lot of growth in the online business. We've developed a lot of new products in terms of education and training for professionals, delivering a live event. Having to broaden my mind to believe, to understand that this is a much bigger business than perhaps I ever thought it was going to be. 10 years ago, I thought this is a monthly membership that apartment owners will buy and that'll just tick along in the background. This is actually, I'm stepping into playing this bigger game. And there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety that can build around that when you're doing something new. The event that I ran last week, in the course of the 8 months or so of planning that, my brain was thinking, this is the hardest thing, one of the hardest things that I've ever done, and I'm stepping into it and it's uncertain and I'm not sure if it's going to work. But I had to set that aside and say, but this is where my vision is, and have that mindset of this, I believe, have that confidence in myself, I believe is going to get me there. So we're going to keep pushing forward. So that's all a mind game. It's all a mind game. You've got the skills at this stage of business. You've got the experience. You've got the knowledge that people want to pay to access. It's about whether you believe you can deliver on the scale that you truly want to. So mindset's been a huge thing for me the last year.
And I think of you as someone really confident, because what you're talking about is having that confidence in yourself. And I believe you to be someone who's really confident. And so what's really relatable is that even with the confidence you have, knowing that you're at the top of your game, knowing that you're making such an impact, that you also wobble a little, but you keep pushing forward, is such an inspiration, Amanda.
Thank you. And there will always be wobbles. And I feel that, if it's not scary, if you're not wobbling, if you're not pushing and a little uncertain, then what's the point? You're not challenging yourself. You're not doing something new. And how amazing does it feel when you come out the other side and look back and say, I just did that. That's so cool. I wonder what I can do now.
What can you do now? What are some of the opportunities that you're seeing for your business, say in the next 12 months?
Yeah,
is it bedding down? Is it new?
Yeah, there's lots of bedding down. We've had a lot of new in the last 12 months. We are looking at expanding the team a little bit further to be able to hopefully bring someone in who can assist me more with delivery. So we're getting to a stage where back office is working really well. We've got those systems, those processes, online is working well. But because our audience is getting bigger and our audience wants more of me, I have to go back to, okay, Amanda, why did we do this? Why did we start this? It was so that I didn't have to sit down across the desk from a client and do billable hours. I'm now sitting down a lot across the desk from a monitor and a webcam and doing a lot of teaching and a lot of education. So I'm coming back to those foundation rules that I set for myself to think, okay, well, how can I get somebody who might be able to help me with that side of the business and that delivery, so that instead of saying, no, I can't do any more teaching and training, which people want to pay me for, I can say, yes, I can. And this is the structure that we have in place, the team that I have around me to help me do that. So that's definitely on the horizon for the next 12 months, to be able to grow the business out that way, essentially getting better at doing more of what we do.
Well, what that takes is not only, the strategy behind it to say, well, I can serve more people if it's not just me doing it, but it also takes getting our ego out of the way.
Yep.
And I might be, yes, maybe I'm the best person for this, but there's other people that I can train up, other people with wonderful expertise who are going to be part of my team, who are going to allow me to leverage. So you're really, as you're building your team, you're really going back into that priority, which was for you, leverage. How do I grow a business that is leverage? So that's very, very exciting.
It is. And thank you for pointing that out, because I think when you are a professional, whether you're a lawyer or you're an accountant, or you might be in the health professions, you might be a naturopath, you do sort of feel when you are running this kind of education style business, well, I'm the one with the knowledge. I'm the one who has to deliver all of this. And it really is by surrounding myself with other businesswomen who are doing similar things to what I'm doing, wanting to grow their business in a more leveraged way. I'm seeing how they're doing it, bringing in coaches, bringing in consultants, bringing in other expertise, and they're able to do more then, or remove themselves and have a bit more freedom. And I'm looking at them thinking, there's absolutely, aside from my ego getting in the way, there's absolutely no reason that I couldn't do that.
And you mentioned mentors earlier, and you just mentioned being around other women who are doing great things in business. And just because, again, I happen to know you and I know that you participated in a number of the HerBusiness programs, I would like to ask you this question, because for me, from the very beginning, the people I've surrounded myself with have been my secret weapon in growing a business, whether that's mentors, advisory boards, masterminds, peer-to-peer networking. What role have others played in helping you to get to where you are now, and even looking forward to getting you to that next step in your business?
Coming from a very traditional, very old-fashioned, very long-standing profession, being the law, there is no way that I could have got the ideas, the inspiration, the guidance that I needed to build an online business from within the legal profession. I just couldn't have done it. I needed to get out of there from a research perspective and look to other businesses, completely different businesses. Look at the way that they market. Look at the podcasts that they're producing. And it was through doing that I have been able to develop these other ideas that other lawyers look and say, oh, that's really creative. And I think, you know what, in our space it is, but in other spaces, it's really not. A lot of people out there are doing this. So I absolutely wouldn't have the style of business that I have today if I didn't get out there and start connecting with and learning from other people, both men and women, in business through mentors and through networks.
We have a saying at HerBusiness. It's a tagline, actually, and it's do what you love every day.
Take me behind the scenes of what an ideal day in your business looks like when you are like, I am doing what I love. What does that look like?
I so resonate with do what you love every day. Being able to wake up with my day planned and have that plan play out because I'm in control of what I do. I've decided whether it was the night before, whether it was the month before, what this day is going to look like, and I don't get derailed in that. It may be having a meeting with a new client of my legal practice, which I get really excited about, delivering a training webinar for one of the big strata management companies that's inside our membership, being able to spend time in the afternoon with my son when he gets home from school and playing with the dogs outside, because I don't have to be preparing for a court case the next day, because that's not the way that my revenue comes into my business. Having freedom, having independence, and being able to set my boundaries and not have those boundaries crossed by anyone else's agenda is really, really important to me. And if my perfect day contains some of that, then I'm a happy gal.
You're a happy girl. Thank you. I'm so happy that we had this time together. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Susie.
Thanks for joining me on today's episode of the Her Business Podcast. Amanda's story is such a testament to the power of innovation, strategic planning, hard work, and the courage to pursue a path that's less travelled. So if you want to grow and diversify your business, if you want to go from working one-to-one to one-to-many, I know Amanda's journey will have offered you invaluable lessons and a bunch of inspiration. You heard Amanda say she's a long-time member of the Her Business Network. Now, she's gone on to do some of our other programs. She's been to our retreat in Hawaii. She's part of our Marketing Success Mastermind, and she holds one of the coveted seats in our high-level boardroom program. The key is that she started somewhere. She started as part of the Her Business Network, and she's built her business getting advice and support and being part of our incredible community. So if you'd like to join her and me inside the Her Business Network, you can head on over to herbusinessnetwork.com for more details. Now, I love doing this show for you. I appreciate you listening and sharing the show with your friends, and I love it whenever I get a comment from someone who enjoyed an episode. It really makes my day. And today I want to give a shout out to Carrie O'Brien from Northwest Accountancy. She said, I've listened to you on podcasts and interviews, so I feel like you're sitting on my shoulder. Thanks for the inspiration and the realness. Carrie, I appreciate you sending me a message. That was a message I got by email from Carrie. If you've got an idea or a question or a comment, you can email me at podcast@herbusiness.com. If you're new to the show, be sure to hit subscribe. We've got lots of great episodes coming up, and I hope you'll join me next time right here on the Her Business Podcast. Bye for now.